Joining me right now is California Congressman Khanna. Congressman, it's great to have you this morning. We so appreciate you joining me.
Always a pleasure, Maria.
And you know, Congressman, I want to talk about so many things today. You've been really so practical in some of your thinking, like when you said recently that you want to codify President Trump's ideas on prescription drug prices. So I'm going to get to that as well as the agenda. But, sir, how would you assess what's going on in Los Angeles today?
I'll try to offer a common sense perspective. There needs to be unequivocal condemnation for anyone harassing, threatening, attacking anyone in law enforcement, including ICE officers. There needs to be unequivocal condemnation for the destruction of cars or property, including federal property. But I fundamentally believe that you don't need the Marines there to be able to have order, that you can do that with local law enforcement and the highway patrol, and that the use of the Marines was an unnecessary, unconstitutional step.
Well, I mean, look, I think after all that your constituents have gone through and the people, the wonderful people of Los Angeles have gone through by seeing their entire homes destroyed because of the wildfires, it seems to me that any hint of any fire, somebody putting a car on fire, should be outlawed. I mean, right? I mean, you know, they're just thinking about what the people have gone through and how they've lost everything. How is it possible that anything would be tolerated with regard to fire in Los Angeles?
Well, there I completely agree with you. In fact, with George Whitesides, I introduced legislation to increase the penalties for arson and for threats of violence in zones with federal emergencies. The images are horrific. I mean, you can't go burn cars in a civilized society. But what we need is for our local law enforcement, the state police, to address it. And that's what the people want, right? That's why we have federalism. It's not like people in Los Angeles or California are saying, please bring in the Marines. And
right.
I guess I just believe we listen to people.
Well, I understand that for sure, but how else do you protect our very courageous agents of ICE? I mean, Congressman, let's face it, members of your party are saying these riots are actually peaceful. Take a listen, watch.
What's happening in Los Angeles is that most people are peacefully exercising their rights.
Those tensions have now risen. But we also saw yesterday peaceful protests.
Unfortunately, our people that are hijacking this for their own cause, but for the most part have been peaceful.
There was no violence. I was on the street. I know.
I mean, how do we say there was no violence? Maxine Waters just said that. So it's amazing to me that even here, when people are losing their homes, politics is lacing it all.
Well, I wish we could have, and you do, Maria, have nuance in our conversation. You can believe that there was violence. Americans saw it with their own eyes. They saw someone on top of cars burning, and they don't like that. And regardless of whether you agree or disagree with ICE, they are law enforcement officers. You have to treat law enforcement officers with a decency. You can't threaten them. You can't harass them. They're serving the public. But you can also believe at the same time that there are many people there who were engaged in peaceful protests. I mean, that is also true. As long as you recognize and condemn the people who are engaged in committing the violence. And I guess my view is that the most effective protests have to be peaceful, and we could all learn something from Dr. King and those kind of protests where people actually went in suits and were so respectful of the rule of law.
Yeah, unfortunately, what you're hearing from Karen Bass and from, you know, Governor Newsom is that, you know, it's peaceful and we don't need President Trump's help and we don't want the military on the ground. But how else do you put law and order in place? Isn't that why there's so much division within the Democrat Party right now? I mean, you've got the National Committee Vice Chair David Hogg saying he's not going to run for re-election after a majority of DNC members wanted a new vote. A new Quinnipiac University poll shows a majority of Democrat voters do not approve of their congressional leaders. 53% giving them a thumbs down with just 41% approval. Congressman, what do you think about that? And as someone who does think about common sense and practicality when it comes to leadership, who do you think is the face of the 2025 Democrat Party right now?
Well, I think it's unfortunate what happened to David Hogg. He was just talking about primary challenges. You know, the one thing we can watch from the Republican Party is they don't have a problem getting rid of their incumbents. I mean, Donald Trump transformed that party in 8 years. I believe we need new blood in the Democratic Party. I think we need a new generation of leadership. I think we have to focus on the economy. We need to focus on how we're going to build wealth in a modern economy in places hollowed out. We have to have a vision for America and be on Team America, not divide the country in different places. And so you ask who is the leader? I think right now we're looking to build a new generation of leadership, but parties reinvent themselves, and I'm confident by 2026 and 2028 we're going to have a dynamic new group of faces.
Well, I mean, look, it's not so dissimilar to the Republican Party as well, by the way. You've got people who are in Congress for 30, 40, 50 years on the Republican side as well as the Democrat side. So I ask you, would you support term limits?
I do. I introduced a bipartisan bill with Jody Arrington and Brian Fitzpatrick when I first got into Congress. We were all in the same class, and we've been pushing for term limits. I would also say let's ban lobbyists giving money to Congress. Let's ban super PACs on all sides, and let's figure out how we actually get the money out of politics. That's been a big challenge. Incumbents have all the money. They have all the name ID, and these things aren't feudal estates. You know, Maria, there was an article in The Economist that the turnover rate amongst incumbents in Congress is less than European monarchies. I thought we fought a revolution in this country.
Unbelievable. Now, Congressman, one issue here is the fact that it doesn't appear that many of your colleagues have any solutions to the issues that are important to the American people. I mean, look, right now we're in the middle of this conversation about the big, beautiful bill. We know that the Republicans are talking about it amongst themselves in the House and the Senate, talking about tax, stopping the largest tax increase that people have ever seen. And the Democrats don't want anything to do with it. So, I mean, are you comfortable with saying that I mean, first of all, will you vote yes on any part of the big, beautiful bill?
Well, they're going to put it as one big bill, and I can't vote for it for the main reason being the deficit spending. And this, even Elon Musk pointed out, it takes the deficits currently from 7% of GDP to 8.6% of GDP over the next 10 years. Ray Dalio, Jamie Dimon are saying that this is going to cause fear in our bond markets. It could lead to more quantitative easing. It's going to make all Americans poorer. I put out a plan, Maria, yesterday to lower the deficits, to have $12 trillion deficit reduction over the next 10 years. Now, there may be people who dislike some of the plans. It calls for modernizing the military, some of the cuts there. It calls for taxing people in my district, billionaires, more. But here's my challenge to every member of Congress. You don't like what I'm saying? Put out a real plan for how you're going to lower the deficits in this country, and let's see how the math works, and so we can have an honest debate.
And you unveiled a progressive plan to reduce the deficit by $12 trillion over the next decade. But President Trump continues to talk about efforts to balance the budget over time. I understand what you're saying about the spending, but what about the fact that there's money in the bill for the border, there's money in the bill for defense, there's money in the bill to tap into energy? I mean, these are all things that are important to the American people. Do you really want to get in front of and allow the biggest tax increase that we've ever seen by not voting to extend these tax cuts?
Right, this is how Congress works and why the approval rating is so low. They put in certain good things. Yes, Democrats would support more money for border security. I don't think we need more than $1 trillion on defense. So there, I just think we need to have a modernized military, not more spending. But they put it all in one bill, and then they force folks like Chip Roy, like people in the Freedom Caucus, to vote for it, even though they're very concerned about the deficit spending. And I rather that we split it up. Why are we doing these huge bills? Why not put people on record on each individual item? And why don't we actually get serious about the deficit? That was the whole fallout between Musk and Trump.
Well, it's probably because the Democrats won't vote for it, and then they can't get the agenda approved. I mean, if there was some, commonality that you knew that both sides would actually vote in an honest way, but you're saying you want limits to the defense spending, even as China is on the march. Even though we just saw Chinese nationals charged with conspiracy and smuggling in a dangerous biological pathogen, you're on the China Select Committee. You want to say anything about that? And real quick before you go, you said you agreed with President Trump's ideas to lower prescription drugs. That is a place where you have common ground with the president.
It is. I think I was one of the first people in Congress to introduce his executive order as legislation. I put as is his legislation to say Americans shouldn't pay more for prescription drugs than people in Europe and other industrialized countries. And I have Representative Biggs, Representative Luna as co-sponsors. Let's get that for a vote. Why don't we vote on that and put everyone in record rather than figuring it out the big bill? And on defense, Maria, I believe we need a strong defense, but we need to get drones. We need to get AI. We need to get new technology and modernize the military, not just spend more.
Yeah, great points. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. Khanna on Capitol Hill.